be able to see what is the best way we can deal with it in a natural way, not to destroy nature, and at the same time to bring it up to snuff for commerce. If we can bring it up to snuff without destroying the environment, then yes, we have an obligation to fix it and make it utilize it for commerce. If we cannot, then we have to clean it up in a way that will not cause pollution, will not hurt the environment, and bring it, at least there should be an environmental benefit for our neighborhood. That people should say, oh look, we at least have clean waterways.
The only good example of commerce near the Congress Canal that I can come up with is the Whole Foods at 3rd Avenue and 3rd Street. But it just seems to me if you can have a Whole Foods at 3rd Avenue and 3rd Street, there are other businesses to build along the Gowanus Canal because, you know, it just seems like a great idea.
But it depends on the land there. I'm sorry. If we can build there, good. If we can't build, we have to see what the situation is. If we're going to build there, is it going to harm the environment, or is it going to enhance the environment? Sometimes building enhances, sometimes it hurts. We have to see, what do we need to do? Do we need to plant more trees there, so the roots take hold and holds onto the soil that the canal should hold better? Or do we have an area that is not good for growing, that we should put housing or businesses? Because we need to see, you know, to just put, for the sake of putting, it's not an idea. We have to do things that can utilize it in a manner that will be beneficial to all Brooklynites, not just to a few. We have to see, we have a beautiful, like you said, we have a beautiful Whole Foods market there. There used to be Pippin's Radiator right next door to where that was. I don't know if you remember. That's gone. Is the ground poisoned from the antifreeze? Or did they dispose of it properly? It's something that needs to be tested. If it was poisoned, then the ground had EPA has to come in and do a proper cleanup. And once that's cleaned up, what's the ground good for now? Is it good to bring in fresh soil or to put up buildings? And if we're putting up buildings, we can put up waterfront property for people to live and commerce at the same time. So we have to see what can we do that will help the economy and help the environment at the same time. We can't just be focused, you know, on one aspect. We have to look at everybody, what will help everybody at the same time.
Menachem, I have one more question, and I have the question. What would you do as Borough President to preserve or rehabilitate older structures, like, for example, Marty Markowitz, who, even though he was a Democrat, I actually liked him. Very few Democrats I liked. But he rehabbed the King's Movie Theater on Flatbush Avenue. He had a pivotal way of getting those funds and just bringing attention to it, to rehab that old Grand Dam Theater from 1929. And if you look at it now, you've gone in it, it's beautiful how they restored it. And it, you know, it brings pizzazz back. Like, for example, you have the Shore Theater in Coney Island that is decaying for years. I think if somehow they restored that theater, it would put a little life back of the old days of Coney Island. As you can tell, we're in Brooklyn with everyone beeping. So, as you can see over there to your left, these are the grand staircases from the Lower East 46th Street Theater in Neotric Avenue. I preserved this. I took it out before they gutted it because it was a furniture store for a long time. And when they finally gutted it out because they're making it into condominiums, I got these columns out of there. My father used to go to this theater in the 1930s. So I put these poles here and, you know, preserve that. But the history of New York, the history of Brooklyn, like we were mentioning before, is disintegrating.
Well, we have to see what we can do to save Brooklyn.
Right.
And in a variety of different ways, we have to see, first of all, what's landmarked, what's not landmarked.
Right.
Some buildings need to be landmarked, some don't need to be.
Right.
People say, okay, this block, that block is all landmarked. There's a synagogue on 12th Avenue and 41st Street, which is very close to me.
Right.
It was built they started construction on it in 1896. It's the first synagogue in Borough Park. And somebody came now and he's trying to throw it down to build condominiums. Yes, which is not just according to me, but according to Jewish law, is a disgrace. You're not allowed to. But they're trying to do it anyways. They need to take that building, refurbish it, and if need be, turn it into a museum, if that's what it takes to keep it open.
Right.
Because Brooklyn has so much heritage for people that came through New York when they came to America, that Brooklyn needs to be saved. And we have to do one piece at a time, and so be it.
Amen.
As you said, yes, we do need to preserve it. We do need to preserve open spaces. I'm not in agreement with these people who say, oh, throw it down and put up a skyscraper. Just for the sake of putting up a skyscraper? No. What about the sunlight?
Right.
What about air? I'm sorry? One thing I do agree with is with bicycles. It's a very good thing.
Horrible.
I say no.
I almost got killed by those bikes. You get out of a cab and you
Bicycles
go onto
are
the
a
street,
great thing.
and these bikes are coming a billion miles an hour.
May I finish?
And with motors.
May I finish? Bicycles are a great thing. They should all be in the park.
In the park.
In the park,
In
yes.
the park. You want to have bicycles in the street? I have no problem with that on two conditions. You make them have license plates like that. They're held accountable for the damage that they do to people. I've watched them run over an old lady, yes, on the street.
Yep.
Yes.
Now I see
And
bikes.
you like that. So, and you think that's good.
What do you think?
But a bicycle should run over an old lady and
Yeah.
her have to be taken away in an
But
ambulance.
but
They
that's,
drive the wrong way all the
They
time.
go against
They don't
the law.
follow the
So they
lights.
should have to have license plates and insurance, so
Amen.
that when they cause damage, they can be held accountable. Otherwise, in the park, you're fine.
I almost got hit a couple times by them recently while driving.
And they
was
run
through my
into
door.
cars, and I watch bicyclists. Some of them, yes, some of them are very nice. Some of them are very respectful. Some of them know how to drive like mentioned, and know how to drive like human beings. But unfortunately, you have all these delivery men on quote bicycles.
Yeah, they're like race
on
cars.
Ocean Parkway, you see the people driving and they just go zoom around the corner. They're just as bad as the
That
bicyclists.
doesn't make it right.
Well,
But they have
Don't
drive
make it right.
insurance.
That's right. They have
Two
insurance. They have
rules, don't
accountability.
But when you take a street like
accountable.
Empire Boulevard and you take away 2 lanes and you make it a 1-lane road,
Yeah.
yeah, well.
which used to take me to go from Crown Heights to Borough Park, it used to take me 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, if it's less than 45 minutes, it's a miracle.
It's disgusting.
Why? Because there's a bicycle. How often do I see a bicycle on Empire Boulevard? If I get 50 bicycles a day on Empire Boulevard, I'm lucky. But you have 1 million cars. And let me finish one more thing before you say anything. Who pays for the roads? The taxes from the cars, from the insurance,
I
from
pay.
the gas, and from the registration. So we need to give the roads back to the cars. Take the bicycles. You want to have bicycles? We'll have designated streets for bicycles.
Get rid of the
Where
big
they can
cameras.
go, and they have
Get rid of
to
the
be,
gas cameras.
like everybody else, you have to be responsible. If you want to do something, be responsible.
Yeah.
Taxes, insurance, registration, fine, you can have a bicycle. Otherwise, why should they get to run over somebody and walk away?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to
Thank our guest speaker for a, hey, we need to debate the Democrats, right?
You did a great job. Thank you so much. We need to elect this man to be our next borough president. What's the alternative? Let's vote for the Democrat, right? No, we have 1 million of them, right? They control every damn office, don't they? Do they? Yes, they do. They control every office. We need him as our next borough president. Please vote for Menachem. We need him because this borough, this city is insane, out of control. It is out of control.
Like I said before, he needs to make recognition. If everyone here called the local radio
I
station,
agree.
mention
And
his
that's
name.
why we're trying to put this on
Free
YouTube
publicity.
and with the fun back and forth. We'll get a lot of play on that one.
They don't know who he is,
So,
they ain't gonna get the
well,
vote.
no, they'll know.
They got it.
Well, no. So, in conclusion, we want to thank our guest speaker, but before we do that, okay, give him a round of applause, of course. And I want to have Heshy Tischler would like to say a couple words. So if you, Larry, you could come up.
Well, that was very nice. I liked the way you spoke. Very intelligent. I thank you so much. I thank all the members over here, and I want to say a few words to you. I'm not a great speaker like our wonderful guest speaker today. I am a local Brooklyn Borough resident. I've grown, been born, bred. This is my town. This is my city. I've been fighting for my fellow neighbors, no matter whether they're black, white, Asian. I've had 21 foster kids. I have people who come from jail living by me. I've had Muslim kids. I work with the mosques, the churches, the synagogues. So I love my community. I love it from Crown Heights to Williamsburg to the Bronx, all over the city of New York. This is my city. But Brooklyn is where I've been born. And I want to just tell you, I'm not going to go into details about your politics today. I want to tell you a story, a small story. When I go to a lot of, from the hospital, I go visit a lot of people. And I go to people's houses to Menachem over when they're sitting Shiva. That means when they lose a brother, a child, a father. And I usually go there to make fun. That's what I do. I make fun. I make people laugh. I make fun of myself. I make fun of my wife a lot. 32 years. She has all the money, so I have to still be with her. That's a joke. I love her. She watches this show. I'm sitting over there at one of the Shiva calls. A couple of people come in. It was a nice crowd. And all of a sudden, an old man walks in. He gets up on a chair, takes his coat off and throws it down. We're all looking, you know, and even I'm quiet, and that's pretty hard to do in this. He gets up on the chair and he starts to say, I want to tell you a story. And this is the way the story went. He says, there was a lady sitting at a bus stop. It was pouring rain. A young man drives by, and he sees she's at the end of the cemetery. He passes by, he says, what's going on? She says, I come every year to my husband's grave. It's pouring rain and I live in the Bronx. I'm going to take home 3 buses. The young man says, listen, get into the car with me. I live only a few blocks from you. I'll take you home. She says, no, no, no. No, I'm going to go by bus. I do this all the time. He says, why? I live only a few blocks from you. I'll take you home. She gets into the car and he drives her home, drops her off. That's the end. The following year, she gets a call like a day before. She's supposed to go to the cemetery. And it's the young boy. He says, listen, I know you were there last year. I know you go every year. I go as well. Let me take you. It's on my way. I go there for 2 hours. I leave you. I'll bring you back. And after discussion, the lady said, okay. And he picked her up and he took her. And this went on back and forth for 16 years till she passed away. The old man continues. He says, I want you to know that lady was my mother. The young man who took her back and forth as the man was sitting shiva for her, your father. He did not live in the Bronx. He lived in Flatbush. He passed by and he saw an old lady sitting there in the rain and he picked her up and he did good. That's what we do. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what Brooklyn is about. That's what being a member of this great city is about. We built it. My father's a Holocaust survivor with the numbers on his hands. Survivor with 10 brothers and sisters wiped out. 2 survived. I rebuilt my family. He passed away a month after my bar mitzvah. I've raised 21 foster kids, 3 of my own. I have 2 grandchildren, daughters. I'm looking for a boy. They're crazy women. Like a boy. But he's just saying, you know, big age. And I want you to know, and I have 107 nephews and nieces.
Oh, wow.
We work and build our families. We sit in this community to fight. We stand for our fellow residents. I love the police. But when they come and they walk into our houses without warrants, or when our mayor shuts our parks illegally, or when they come into our restaurants without permission, or when there's no money, shuls, which I kept last year open in Borough Park, I kept the shuls, churches, and synagogues. I fought the police. Cut the locks, because I don't care. We defend our fellow man, and we do it every day. And if you're not going to put yourself on the line, let me tell you something, my children. You're going to stand before the Holy Maker, whether you believe in God or not. I believe in Him. I believe in Him fervently. I know I will stand before the Holy Maker. I will answer for Him. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, whatever race you are, in my home you're always accepted. Don't touch my wife's yogurt. There's $7 a piece. I'll kill you. I promise you. I'm looking at you. I know you like yogurt. Look how look he's at. Look at how he looks. I'm fat, so I have no problem. I want to tell you one more little story, if you don't mind, and then I'll let you go. Okay? Look, he's standing there. Shut up, go home. Right, you? No, I'm listening to you. He's a little Hasidic story. The rabbi might like it. Many years ago, there was a holy rabbi called the Sons of Sept, and they were in Poland after World War I. The government decided to build a new road, and they built the road right through a Jewish cemetery. We can't allow that. So the government said, dig up your people, or we're going to build it right over there. The Jewish people started to dig up the cemetery to move their people. One of the graves they dug up in the middle of the cemetery. So the Jewish cemetery, the center is really one of the most holiest places. A lot of the rabbis in certain areas, right in one of the holiest areas, they dug up a young man, perfect, body perfect, dressed in the outfit of a priest. A priest being buried in a Jewish cemetery. Wow, something crazy. It doesn't happen. We don't have an issue, but it doesn't happen. They went over to him and said, we can't rebury this priest in the new cemetery. It doesn't work like that. We'll find him his own place. And the rabbi of the community says, find out the story of this man. You can't just decide whatever you want. They went around town. They found one old lady who says, yes, I know the story. This man who we buried was the rabbi of charity, who made sure that the money was distributed, that came in properly. Money given out to poor people, families, no matter who they were, to take care of them and feed them and watch them and somehow keep them going. One day somebody knocked on this guy's door and they said to him, my family's dying. I'm standing on the street. I have nowhere to go. The guy puts on his coat, goes door to door knocking, and he collects a bunch of money. They say like 20 rubles was quite a sum of money. Goes back home, happy, and he hands the money to the family. They're happy and they're good to go. Sits down, relax, wow, what a day he accomplished. And you know part two of the story, somebody knocked on the door again. I'm in trouble. My family's standing outside, it's getting dark, I don't know what to do, we have nowhere to go. Put on his coat, how hard is it to get money once, but you know, to get money a second time? Knocked on door to door, somehow he put together a package of money, gave it to the family. Exhausted. Tired, sat down in his house. And the final part of the story was the dark already. Another family knocks on the door. The man comes crying, shows him the family. He says, we're finished. Family of 3. There's nowhere for me to go. Nobody wants to take me in. He said, there's nothing I can do. There's nowhere I could go. And the man is crying. The guy puts on his coat, and he starts going door to door. People are laughing at him. He passes a bar with a bunch of young kids laughing and joking around, getting drunk. And as he passes, one of the kids notices him. He says, hey, Rabbi, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he tells him he was depressed. He said, you know what? I'm going to tell you. And he tells him the story about this family sitting there that has nowhere to go. So they said, you know what? We want to play a joke with you. What you're going to do is we'll give you the money you need for the family. We want you, this is a Jewish community, we want you to put on an outfit of a priest, and we're going to make fun of behind you and dance and sing and see what happens. Rabbi quickly, it's dark, puts on this outfit of a priest, and he starts to run through town. This is a Jewish community, seeing the rabbi, it doesn't work. People were angry, started throwing things at him, screaming at him. He ran through town, and the kids were playing music and making fun of him, and he got to the end of the town. He was very depressed, sad. And the kids gave him the money. He went home, he handed the money to his family. He went into his house, sad, crying, bitter to himself. He took the outfit and he threw it into the closet. This holy rabbi, the Sons of Rebbe, comes into the town. and the community starts to greet him. As the rabbi hits the town,